I'm gonna give you 4 key exercises that you can utilize for lower body strength for distance running, and we're gonna start right now. What's up everybody, it's Dave Miller from GarageStrength.com. If this is your first time to the channel and you're interested in becoming a better athlete, you wanna get more explosive and you wanna dominate your opponents on the mat, make sure that you like, you subscribe, and you ring that notification bell so we can help you become a champion. So when we're talking about improving leg strength for distance runners, we've got to understand this isn't about making our distance runners look like shot putters. This isn't about making our distance runners look like bodybuilders or even going out and just being these huge hulking individuals, okay? We wanna talk about just general strength, improving general strength. And if I could share one of my stories is getting to see someone like Gary Reed, a guy who had gotten second at world championships in the 800 meters. Knowing his training protocol when I lived in Canada and just seeing him move a little bit, he was extremely strong and extremely explosive. And that explosiveness and that strength carried over really, really well to the track. He had a tremendous kick. He was extremely fast on the track. And that's because he had good, solid strength. And so when we're talking about this strength training, what exercises are we gonna utilize? We have to think about trying to pair those distance runners into their event groups. And so there might be benchmark lifts that we need to see for a back squat or a single leg squat, whatever the movement might be for an 800 to a 1500 meter runner. And then that might change, that weight that is necessary to hit might change for a 5,000 or a 10,000. But if we can establish simple benchmarks, then we know what we need to hit as coaches, where we need to guide our athletes towards. And that takes us into that first key exercise that's gonna help you improve your leg strength as a distance runner. So the first exercise that we're gonna utilize for distance running is gonna help distance runners with their knee issues. It's also gonna help with their lower back stress, and it's gonna help improve their ankle mobility, which should help prevent shin splints. And so this is a Spanish squat. We got our power elastic bands. You can click on the link down below. Head over to GarageStrength.com if you want to pick these up. But you can, the whole goal is that we want to see us push back at the knees at the top. And so if we have a kettlebell, it doesn't need to be super heavy, nice and light, 25, 30 pounds. You come nice and deep, get to the top, extend back and try and contract. Nice and deep. Come back to the top and extend back. And so what we're doing is we're trying to strengthen the quads. And as the bands pull our knees forward, we want to keep those heels grounded to try and improve our ankle mobility. And I do recommend doing this in your socks. And one of the big key factors here also is that because we're holding this kettlebell in front of us, we're going to have to focus on our trunk stability as well. That's going to carry over to that dynamic trunk control. So while we're here, come down, boom, and try and squeeze the quads at the top, and that's gonna help with that VMO. Now, I like to superset these with another exercise that is tremendous for distance runners, and that's gonna be a crouching crawl. And so this is a movement that you can start off without using any weight at all, but you wanna get into a position here and just sort of crawl through plantar flexion, okay, in the ankle joint. So plantar flex the entire way through, and as you keep moving, if you're holding these kettlebells, that's gonna help it with a loaded position. If you don't wanna use kettlebells, if you don't wanna use weight, you can drop the kettlebells here, right? And now you can hold that hip flexion a little bit more effectively. You can hold that plantar flexion a little bit more effectively. And now your trunk can coordinate even greater, and that's gonna really improve the strength of your calves, of your entire shin area here, and that's gonna lead to preventing shin splints. So use Spanish squats to try and mobilize that ankle joint, try and strengthen the knee, and then use the crawl to try and strengthen that ankle joint and grab the ground more effectively with your feet, with your toes a little bit more open so that you can absorb that energy effectively. Okay, so that third exercise that I believe is one of the best movements that any athlete can do, but especially distance runners, because it's gonna smash that posterior chain. It's gonna improve their hip mobility. It's gonna improve their knee stability. There's gonna be a co-contraction in the hip and in the knee. And on top of that, if we're doing it barefooted, okay, our stability and our proprioception is going to start to improve. So I would recommend having your toes a little bit more widespread when we're doing this movement. So this is going to be a single leg squat here. Okay, so if we have a distance runner that's got a little bit shorter legs, we can move that front foot forward pretty far. If we have somebody that maybe they have really long legs, but their quads are weak, well, you can move that foot back a little bit. Depends on what you need and what that specific runner needs. Do they need to improve their stride length? Well, make their position, make their foot positioning a little bit further forward to improve their stride length, to make them more mobile. But we can get down here, and I even recommend sometimes putting a pad or a towel down on the ground for a target. So you can utilize this nice and deep, come up and try and think about those toes. What are those toes doing? Grab the ground with the toes to absorb that energy. Now you're gonna feel your glute med come into play. And what you can do as you get better at these, okay, is that you can improve the load by holding that goblet position. And this is gonna help enhance your balance even more. And the big key factor for distance runners is training that dynamic trunk control. If we have better trunk control, we can be more stable with our stride and we can use our energy more effectively. So I recommend doing that in your socks. You can use this as a warm-up to try and lengthen your hamstrings, try and target your posterior chain, open up your hips. And as you get stronger, add 25-pound kettlebell, add a 30-pound kettlebell. Do it for longer durations. You can even throw in a little bit of an isometric. And it's gonna mimic that feeling that guys get at the end of a 15 or the end of a 5K. Utilize this once or twice a week and you're gonna have better mobility and greater posterior chain strength. So that last key exercise that I love to utilize for distance running to improve their leg strength is gonna be a movement that I like to have actually target from an anti-rotation perspective, from an isometric perspective, and throughout that posterior chain. So we're gonna get on the glute ham machine here. And what I like to do is push those heels and those toes up. So we have almost like a little bit of dorsiflexion. Okay, so we're gonna hold this in an isometric perspective here, okay? Isometric muscular action. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in a little bit of a row, okay? So we're gonna try and hold that position the whole time in our posterior chain. And we're gonna do a row here. We wanna do, let's say we do 5 on one side while we're holding that upper body in line with our hips, and then 5 on the other side. And what this does is it lights up your lower back on the opposing side. So if I'm rowing with my left, my right lower back can really start to get a little bit more active, as does my hamstring. And so that helps with anti-rotation throughout your trunk and in conjunction with your posterior chain. I believe isometric actions with distance runners can help their lower back get extremely strong without putting a ton of loading on their back. So think about it, if you're doing an isometric hold here for 60 seconds, that can lead to a lot of time under tension, but it's gonna help with intramuscular coordination. Even when we're doing a row like this, a glute ham isometric with a row, let's say instead of doing sets of 5 on each side, you hold for 30 seconds while you row, you hold for 30 seconds on the other side, or you could do 5 rows, 5 rows, 5 rows, 5 rows, until a 60-second time frame is up. And when you start to utilize it from a period perspective, now this helps you improve your overall coordination and your overall lower back strength. So if you need help with strength training for distance runners, click on the link down below. You can head over to garagestrength.com. You can pick up our strength training for distance running program. If you need help with more content, you want to learn more about engaging and becoming a better distance runner, click on this card right here. Until next time, guys, peace.